But there's something inside of you that says, I just have to follow that. Because you don't know who you're going to be, who you're going to be, who you're going to be.
The news is out. Mario and I are expecting our first baby, and I took a poll on Instagram to see if I should do a Q&A throughout each trimester or just do one for the entire pregnancy, and almost everyone voted to do one each trimester. I just started my second trimester, so today I want to answer all the questions that I received regarding the first trimester. I think this will be a fun way to kind of track this pregnancy. I know that for every woman, every pregnancy can be different. Maybe they have a really smooth first pregnancy and then maybe their second child is completely different. So I feel like this will be a fun way to answer any questions you have, whether you're a mom to be, or just simply interested in the subject, and also a great way for me to make some memories and look back on how I was feeling during this time. I've seen some mixed things online, whether the second trimester starts at 13 weeks or 14 weeks, but I'm 14 weeks and 1 day, so I'm officially 100% in the second trimester. I wrote down all of the questions that you guys asked me on Instagram stories, and I'm going to be answering them from my phone. I kind of put them in order of how I feel they kind of progressed from beginning to where I am now, so let's get into it. The first question is, what were your symptoms before receiving a positive pregnancy test? So I basically knew I was pregnant the first day that I expected my period, and I waited like 2 days just to be sure. So I didn't really have any symptoms because I found out right away, and it takes a while for people who are pregnant to get symptoms because you need to make sure the HCG levels are high enough so that your body can start kind of reacting, and I just was so early on that I didn't really have any symptoms yet. The second question is, at what week did you start feeling morning sickness? And I believe I was 5 weeks and 5 days pregnant. I actually remember the exact day that I started to feel nausea for the very first time. I was getting ready to check out of this glamping little staycation that my friend Narissa and I went on, and it was pretty early in the morning, but I felt nauseous, and that was the first time I had ever felt nausea during the pregnancy. So I was a little unsure if it was because I was pregnant or if I was just like hungry or dehydrated. So we went ahead and went to get breakfast right away, and it was pretty manageable for the drive home. I was kind of relieved that I was starting to feel it 2 days before the 6-week mark, because it just made me feel like my body was progressing and doing what I needed to do for the pregnancy to be sustainable. Did you have crazy morning sickness? How'd you help it go away / ease the nausea? So thankfully, I haven't had any insane morning sickness yet. I'm so grateful because I hate throwing up like most people, and I was actually really nervous that I was going to throw up a few times, but it's been very manageable. The way that I manage it and bring ease to my nausea, the first way is that it's usually when I'm hungry. So first thing every single morning, I make my breakfast as soon as I wake up, and I stay hydrated. I also get nauseous when I'm dehydrated or just feeling thirsty. So as soon as I feel it creeping on, I drink some tea or some water so that I can just kind of bring my body back to a more comfortable state. Another thing that's been really helpful that I know a lot of moms rely on are ginger candies. So I got these hard ones at Rainbow, and I got these soft ones at Trader Joe's. I actually like the hard ones a lot better. I don't know if it's just this brand, but when you unwrap it, the paper that it's wrapped in like sticks to it, and it's just such a hassle to take off because it's kind of like soft, and it just kind of, it seems like it melts into it. So I don't mind the texture, but I just feel like they're not as convenient. And I just like these so much more. You can just open it out of the wrapper and you know, pop it in your mouth. Sometimes I'll just let it kind of melt. Other times I will chew on it. But regardless, I always feel better once I have a ginger candy. Those are great for when I'm on the go. I love to keep them in my purse. Like if we're going grocery shopping and I'm hungry, it's just easy to kind of help hold me over. So they're quick and convenient. Did you feel super tired or okay with energy? Yes, I've been so freaking tired. It's gotten a little bit better lately. Like in my first trimester, I was exhausted all the time. There are still days where I like wake up tired, but it's starting to get a little bit better. But during my first trimester, I was constantly tired. It was really hard to just get anything done. Even though my nausea has been pretty manageable, the mix of feeling queasy and being tired, all I want to do is lay down and relax. I've definitely been exhausted, but it makes sense for the first trimester, and it typically starts to ease up a little bit in the second trimester. So right now I'm usually good until midday, but by the time it hits like 9 o'clock, I'm ready for bed in my pajamas, taking off my makeup, like just totally ready to knock out by 10 p.m. Do you have any cravings? In the very beginning, I feel like I'm still kind of in the beginning because I'm only like 3.5 months pregnant, but in the very, very beginning, I was craving sweets, and I used to have a sweet tooth when I was a kid, but I don't really have one that much these days. I love to have like a palate cleanser after lunch or dinner, just something a little bit sweet, but that was the first time in a long time that I actually craved something sweet. The irony is, if I have like artificial sugar, like too much candy, I actually get nauseous, so I have to be aware of that. So instead, I've been trying to focus on things that are more naturally sweet and nutritious, like fruit and smoothies and things like that. I actually learned at my recent appointment with my midwives that if you're craving anything sweet or salty, it's usually because you need a higher protein intake. So I think because I've adjusted my diet a little bit, that's why I haven't been having as intense cravings, but definitely like the first few weeks of my pregnancy, I was feeling that a lot more. Did your urticaria get worse? So if you see my other videos, I have an autoimmune issue called chronic urticaria. So I get hives and rashes really easily because my immune system is just really sensitive. So someone is asking if my urticaria got worse in the beginning of my pregnancy. And I would say kind of. I actually noticed the first like 1 or 2 weeks that I was pregnant that I was having little hives all over my body. And it's because the baby is essentially like a parasite, right? They're taking all of your nutrients, and it kind of weakens your immune system and just like adjusts things in your body. So I did notice that, and it wasn't anything extreme. It was kind of subtle, like on my arm or on my legs, but it was happening like almost every night for a little while. In terms of having any unexpected flare-ups that are really intense, or my skin being more sensitive to products I already use, I would say that hasn't happened, and I'm really grateful for that, and I'm hoping that it stays that way. Were you guys trying? If so, how long did it take? So yes, we actually were trying. I turned 30 this year, and I had been telling Mario for a long time that when I was 30, I wanted to be either pregnant, have a baby, be engaged, or married. And I've been really, really eager to have a baby and just be a mom. I've always wanted to be a mom ever since I was a kid. It's something that I've dreamt about. It kind of got to the point this year where I just felt like I couldn't wait any longer, and like I just yearned for it so much. So actually a month before he proposed, we had decided to start trying. Little did I know, he had wanted to propose since the beginning of the year, but because of the pandemic, it just kind of slowed things down and he put it off. So by the time he proposed, we had been trying, and I kind of felt unsure if we should keep trying or focus on the wedding. He kind of left it up to me, but we decided ultimately that we would try for 1 more month, and if I hadn't gotten pregnant still, then we would focus on the wedding and just put trying to have a baby aside until after we were married. But lo and behold, the 2nd month I actually got pregnant. So it kind of made me feel like it was meant to be, because that was kind of the last chance I was giving myself and my body, and I'm just really happy with the way that it turned out. How are your prenatal visits going? I've technically had 3 visits because I'm going to a birth center, but I also have gone to my regular hospital to see an OB. I had my first visit with the midwives, and they call it the confirmation visit. So they do an ultrasound to make sure the baby is thriving and to kind of determine how far along you are in the pregnancy. And since we were trying, I had a pretty good timeline of when I thought I got pregnant, or at least when my last period was and how far along I was. So that all went pretty smoothly. I had a second visit at the hospital the following day, which was essentially for the same thing, but I let them know that I already had my ultrasound and I didn't want to get a second one today. I was mainly going in to get blood work done and to kind of set things up for that. And the reason I did that was because we weren't sure if it was going to be covered by my insurance had I got it done at the birth center, and the midwives just told me it would be a little bit more convenient and to get it done faster if I went to my usual hospital. I will say my visit with the midwives compared to my visit at the hospital were vastly different. When you go to the birth center, it's definitely more of a relaxing vibe. You kind of feel like you're going into someone's home, and it's just so much more calm when you meet with them. And when I went to the hospital, I was there for 2.5 hours. It was incredibly stressful, not just because of coronavirus and, you know, being mindful of things like that, but also because of the way I feel they handle all the questions. Like, it was really exhausting for me. They also asked me if I had a birthing plan, and I mentioned the preferences that I had in mind, and I just kind of felt like they were not really listening to me and allowing me to advocate for myself, but instead kind of working with a fear factor. I'm fully aware that things can happen, but they were just kind of making me feel like my expectations were unrealistic. It was just really stressful, and that's a big reason why I prefer to go visit with the midwives opposed to my usual hospital. In the second visit that I had with the midwives, I actually expressed that to them, and they let me know that if I'm not comfortable with the provider that I had at the hospital, I can always change or request to have someone different. So that kind of helped me feel like I regained some power. I'm not really sure if I'm going to change hospitals or what I'm going to do yet, just as a backup for emergencies, but it does feel good knowing that I have those options. And I also just expressed to them the frustration that I felt and things that bothered me. So it kind of felt good to let it out because I had been holding it in for a while. And the other thing that we did during my second visit is that I finally got to hear the heartbeat, because the ultrasound that they have is very basic. I wasn't able to hear it at the first appointment, but I was able to hear it at the second appointment, which I was really, really happy about. I actually took a little clip, so I will try and pop it in here so you can hear it as well. They did say that the heartbeat was very strong and consistent, which is a great sign. Boy or girl, what do you both think? So I would say for Mario, he's totally unsure. I feel like he still thinks it can just go either way. And for me, I've been leaning towards that it could be a boy for a little while. I've had a few dreams that have suggested it's going to be a boy. The first dream was that I was actually sort of like half awake. It almost felt like a lucid dream, but the name actually came to me. And I don't know if it was my subconscious saying it to myself or if there was some kind of sign, someone coming to tell me this is the name that you're going to have. but that was kind of my first sign that it could be a boy. And I actually had 2 other dreams where I saw the baby and it was a boy. Ultimately, I still feel a little bit unsure, and you don't typically find out until I believe your 18 to 20 week appointment when they do another ultrasound. So there's still going to be at least another month or month and a half until we know for sure. I feel like because I think it's a boy, it would be the opposite and come out a girl, but I did speak to a few other moms and they told me that they had dreams and they ended up being right. So I really don't know what to expect, and I'll definitely have to keep you guys updated on what the outcome is. How are you adjusting to everything? Is it difficult? I feel like so far I've been adjusting pretty well. I don't feel like anything really crazy has changed yet. I feel like the biggest changes have been little tweaks that I've made in my diet. I'm trying to focus on eating more because I kind of wasn't sure if I was eating enough in the beginning. The biggest struggle that I've had so far is work, but this past week I feel like I've been a little bit more in hustle mode. But the first 12 weeks I was so tired and just like queasy that I didn't really feel motivated to work. All I wanted to do was sleep, as I mentioned earlier, and it was just really hard to do anything, whether it was emails or create content. But now I'm hoping that for the rest of my pregnancy, I will be able to get a lot more done. Do you think it'll be harder to be a blogger once you have a baby? Honestly, in a lot of ways, I think it will be, because I work from home already and I'm going to have to relearn how to schedule myself and shift my focus. I also plan on breastfeeding, so if all goes well and my milk supply, you know, comes in quickly and the baby is able to latch, that is like a full-time job in itself. I actually saw a statistic recently where it was kind of comparing a full-time job and breastfeeding and how similar they are in terms of the amount of hours a person has to put into it. So I'm a little bit nervous about that, but I feel like the first year of your life with the child is a big adjustment, no matter whether you work from home or you're in the industry that I'm in, or you know, you have to go to work. I feel like people figure it out and they do things that help them adjust. I'm hoping that we will have some help, but my mom is on the East Coast, so I can't rely on her, but I'm hoping that Mario's family will be able to help out a bit, and maybe other people in my family as well, so that I can have a break a couple days a week and just completely focus on my work. Mario's also home a lot too, so I feel like, you know, he'll be able to help out if I'm able to pump a bit, and he can take care of the baby and feed it when I'm busy. We finally made it to the very last question, and it is, what is a question you still have regarding your first trimester? And I actually had to think for a really long time because I didn't really know like what question I have for myself. I feel like I've researched everything immediately and I've listened to so many podcasts that I feel like I know a lot and experienced a good amount and kind of expected certain things that I experienced. So I had to really think about this one. The question that I have isn't really regarding like me specifically, but what I've been wondering is, does my dog Rosie know that I'm pregnant? Like I just can't tell if she knows. She's already pretty attached to me. Like she follows me if I go to a different room, and she's very cuddly. So I haven't necessarily noticed her amplifying that. I can't really tell if it's the way it's always been or if it's more now that I'm pregnant. Once in a while, I'll catch her like sniffing my stomach area or like my abdomen, but I really don't know what to think. I know that people say that like your pets know, but I really can't tell if she knows yet. That wraps up all the questions that I received on Instagram, and I hope that you guys found this informative, whether you're just interested in what my first trimester is like or whether you're expecting a baby of your own. I was really excited to shoot this video, and I'm already looking forward to the second one that we will be filming in the following trimester. Be sure to follow me on Instagram and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already to stay up to date with all the changes that are going to be coming in my life in the coming months.